What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back, guys. I just got back from vacation, as you can see, and I had to give you guys my aggressive thoughts on the Hot Toys Artisan Moon Knight figure, and of course the Mr. Knight figure that has just been previewed, because I definitely feel a little bit passionate about my take on this one, and for better or for worse, maybe there's some positivity here as well. So I want to give you guys my thoughts. I thought this would be a good contender for this or that, or both as well, because are you going to put these both in the basket, or were you feeling a little butthurt like me? Stick around and find out. If you guys like the video, hit the like button, smash the subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, and let's get into it.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Ben Thomas.
Go time! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!
So before I get started on my take here, let me just get this out of my system.
In the heat of battle, my father wove a tapestry of obscenity that, as far as we know, is still hanging in space over Lake Michigan.
The Hot Toys Moon Knight figure from 2022 is one of my favorite figures in my collection. The cape on that figure has easily one of the best Hot Toys capes in my display. It's fantastic. And it was a really cool figure. I loved that the eyes lit up. I thought the tailoring on the outfit was beautiful. It was a great figure, don't get me wrong. Now, that's kind of where I thought that figure would stop. At the time, I was critical that it didn't have a head sculpt for Oscar Isaac, but you know, maybe the likeness just wasn't there, or maybe the likeness rights weren't available. So I saw, you know, other companies kind of diving into that Oscar Isaac likeness, and thought that was okay. Like, for the most part, I wanted the Moon Knight outfit, not necessarily Oscar's likeness in the display. And don't get me wrong, Oscar Isaac is actually a Hot Toys collector himself. I think it's great that we're finally getting a chance to see this. But again, that's where I thought this would stop. And of course, we saw a Mr. Knight figure come out from So Toys and a few other brands. I can't remember all of them at this point, but none of them were fantastic. If you were looking for the Oscar sculpt, then yeah, it was a great stand-in. And if you were looking for a Mr. Knight figure, that was the only one that was currently available. And I kind of love that it feels like whenever So Toys does a pretty decent release, Hot Toys is like, nope, hold my beer, I'm going to give you one too. And I think, as you can see here, they've done better, in my opinion, than, of course, the So Toys one. But what really burned my ass, can't lie here, is two things. Why have they given us the upgraded Oscar Isaac head sculpt now with the Artisan hair? 2 years plus after the initial figure came out. Not only has this now effectively crushed the value of that original release, but also they did some better here. Like, just, they chrome-mandoed us all over again. There's battle damage on the suit, just like people wanted. The first version was a little too clean, even I have to admit that. And they weathered it up a little bit here, of course. And this sculpt is fantastic. You can't hate on that. This looks exactly like Oscar Isaac to me. I think it's wonderful. But it pisses me off that the Artisan figure is now the one that's on the Moon Knight figure, and the Mr. Knight figure has the sculpted hair. Like, if they were gonna go Artisan route here for this particular character, I would have rather them do a sculpted version for the Moon Knight figure. It would have still sucked, but it wouldn't have at least felt like that much more massive of an upgrade. And I would have preferred to see maybe the Artisan hair on the Mr. Knight, something that was a new figure announced by Hot Toys. But no, of course, they chrome-mandoed us all over again. Now, my initial take was F this figure. But retrospectively, I would say that while they don't have a price listed for this one, if you don't necessarily care about having Oscar's likeness in Moon Knight outfit, because to be honest, he didn't show up that much that way anyways. He was either the character or he was Moon Knight, but like very rarely did he have his hood off anyway. So I don't think it's necessary for the display. You might want to take this head sculpt and put it on a Poe Dameron, honestly, but I don't think it's necessary. So unless you're a full-out artisan collector now, and you still have that original Moon Knight, you might be feeling a little frustrated about the better weathering on this one. But if you don't care for the head sculpt, then it doesn't matter. You already have it in your display, and it's a great figure to begin with. I think that's the takeaway I wanted to share with you guys. That's something that I was feeling after I saw this, because I hate looking at my display and feeling like now I've got the lesser of the character. But I don't really feel like that's necessarily the case. I feel like that's a bit of a negative outlook on it, because it's still a great figure at the end of the day. And if I really wanted to customize it and dirty it up a little bit, I could. But I'm curious what you guys are thinking here. If you don't have the original release and now you're seeing the Oscar sculpt, are you going to be picking this up? What about the Mr. Knight figure? Is that one that you're also considering? Is your love of Moon Knight that strong at this point, all these years later, that you can justify putting two of these into display, especially with everything else that we're hoping is on the horizon? Today, on Facebook, Hot Toys has teased a Bucky Barnes, and that looks to me like an artisan figure. You can see what looks like rooted hair there, and that's something that we've all been craving, especially since we saw that Captain America pop up last week, the stealth suit. But you also have to wonder, what other figures are they going to go back to now? Are our collections safe from the likes of Artisan at this point? Does that matter? It's a good question for myself, to be honest. It's not even necessarily a question for you guys watching, because if they continue to upgrade figures with Artisan hair, am I going to look at my display and feel like it's the lesser of the figures? Not necessarily. I don't love rooted hair. I so far haven't had the greatest experience with it, and while I think that the Artisan line is turning out to be so far so good, we still don't have that many of them in hand, and I'm still expecting that at some point we're going to get a bit of a dud. So that remains to be seen. I hope that's not the case. For the longest time, what was in collectors' mouths was, I'm going to wait for InArt. Now I feel like I'm going to wait for Artisan. And I think that that's pretty legitimate in terms of a concern or a hope. If you're looking at your figures like I do now and think, what if they just upgrade this pretty baseline figure with some rooted hair? Is that going to piss me off? Or am I going to be okay with that? Now quickly, I mentioned that the price point was not listed for the Artisan figure on Sideshow's website yet, so it remains to be seen. I'm expecting somewhere in the $325 to $355 range, likely, maybe even a tad more, but I hope not, to be honest, because I don't really think that they've done that much changing of the actual outfit itself other than weathering it up. So if they already had the molds available and they're just doing the head sculpt, hope for less than $355. And then $255 for the Mr. Knight, which I do think might come to my collection. That is one that I'm considering putting in. And to be honest, if it comes with the sculpted hair, I don't really feel like I need that better of an Oscar likeness in my display. I think I can handle that one. Tailoring on the outfit does look really good. I've seen some criticism that the mask over the face isn't 100% accurate to the show. And like, I think it looks pretty good here in the side-by-side comparison, but let me know what you guys think of that. I think it's pretty solid. I'd be happy with it. I don't think I'm going to look at a movie still next to this. It feels very much like Mr. Knight in the display, as it should. And again, if you're looking at the actual outfit in comparison to the So-So Toys version even, I think it's far superior here. In terms of likenesses across the board, whether it's sculpted or artisan, I don't think you can go wrong here. I think it's the best likeness of Oscar Isaac that exists on the market, at least in terms of prototype stage. We'll see what it looks like when it gets to that final version. Will there be a little bit of a downgrade? Potentially. Am I happy for Oscar Isaac? Yes. Do I still feel like F this release? A little bit. But I think it just highlights that we just need to change the way we are willing to consider putting figures in our collection. If you buy a figure nowadays and you think, man, I love this figure, but the only difference would be if they put some hair on this, I'd like it more, then wait for Artisan. And you may or may not get your wish. Let's be honest, Hot Toys does seem pretty freaking random at this point. April 2022 was the last blogger photos for the last version. to be honest, that doesn't feel like it was that long ago for me, especially in the collector sphere, right? Like when we're waiting a year to a year and a half for most of these figures anyways, it kind of feels like we just got this in hand. But Hot Toys is a business, and they are never going to stop figuring out ways to pump the money. For all we know, Oscar finally gave his likeness rights after maybe quite a few tweaks. This is a really dialed in sculpt. Maybe he wasn't happy with the first couple versions, or did they expect a Moon Knight Season 2 to be out at this point? In which case they would have given us the Oscar likeness, but because we haven't got that yet, they're like, screw it, get it out the door before nobody cares about this character anymore. Potentially. I loved the show. I don't know if I'm willing to invest this much money in this line though. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Is it this being the new Artisan figure? Is it that being the Mr. Knight figure? Is it both? Let me know what your comments are down below and what you think of these figures, and also maybe what you think that price for the Artisan figure might end up shaking out to be. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. But if you like the video, hit the like button, smash the subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show. I am tired from vacation. I am on my way to bed, but I'm sure I'll see you guys more this week because I think there's going to be a couple cool things coming around the corner. So stay tuned. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Wow, what a great audience. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because subscribing makes you feel good.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.